Is this media obsession with Taylor Swift getting out of hand? If you've lived in a cave, you may not know that Taylor Swift is dating Travis Kelce, and she goes to a lot of games, and the media is focusing on her quite a bit. And I have here Julia Sun today. Julia is a TV host and sports commentator. She's been with CBS, NBC, ABC, interviewed Olympic champions, Super Bowl champions, even a presidential candidate. Julia, thanks for coming in today.
Not at all. Thank you for having me.
Now, my first question is obvious. Is this good for the game? What's going on with Taylor Swift?
It depends on who you are. I mean, if I were just to go to the game and only the game, yes, I want to hear more about Patrick Mahomes, the Travis Kelce quarterback tight end duel, because I'm there for the game. I want to know more about, hey, how intuitively they have this connection together, because they definitely have this connection together. You see it. How do they measure up to, say, other quarterback tight end combinations, their chemistry? Like, how did they develop from that from ground up? Because they have been together for, years, but Patrick Mahomes was not Travis Kelce's first quarterback. How did they work together? How did they work the kinks out? All that. But on the other hand, is this out of hand? Not for me yet. I will say that cameras are focused on Taylor a lot because she is popular. Whoever is operating the camera knows that Taylor does get clicks. Look, she sells out stadiums. She has something close to 300 million followers on Instagram. It's insane. She doesn't need more views. She herself has said, go away. I don't need this attention. She has all the attention she can have in the world and some. There are times where she just wants to enjoy her private life, and that's at the game because she is there as a girlfriend. She's there to support her boyfriend. Here's the question I think everybody needs to sort of ask themselves, and this is quite individual. We cannot answer this together. The question is football an escape from routine life? Is it something private? Is it something strictly between you, the football fan, and what goes on in the football field? Or is football, on the other hand, just an entertainment that brings your friends together? It's an entertainment that you want to enjoy with people surrounding you, such as your friends, relatives, coworkers, who have you. If you are into the game and only the game, then maybe you want some privacy. This so-called, burnout could be real because the cutaways can be distracting to you. You're like, guys, I want to see that play again. I don't want to see her. Right? I get that. But if you happen to think, hey, football is awesome, right? Football should be enjoyed by everybody. I want everybody to know about how awesome football can be. I mean, don't cheer for the other team when they're playing against my team, but come join the party whenever you want. We like football. Then I would say you should be delighted that more people are interested in football, because more people definitely are.
And there are, and that you can't dispute that. And what follows that is the purse strings. Since Taylor's been, I'm calling her Taylor like I'm friends with her, but since she's been going to games, she's made $331 million.
In only the first several months, and that is only the value she generated for the Chiefs. Think about what she's generating for the NFL and the larger sports world in general. That's a much bigger number than that. And since you brought it up, I actually came across like a recent survey. The survey, let me just read it to you. It's by Lending Tree. It's not like it's a consumer website. It's not a polling organization like, say, Gallup, but it's pretty telling. So what I read is the result is 13% of American consumers said their interest in watching the sport, football, has grown because of Taylor. And among Gen Z and millennials, so those are my people, my usually viewers, that's 24%, 1 out of every 4 people, and 1 out of every 5 people, Gen Z and millennials, 24 and 20% respectively, say, yes, I am watching more football because of Taylor, right? That's a lot. That's a lot. And so again, I reiterate my point that if you think football can be enjoyed by a lot of people and you want to have a conversation with anybody about football, then hey, your horizon just expanded by 24 and 20%, depending on which age group you're talking to. And also this is the same survey, six-figure earners, 21% of them are a lot more likely to say they're more interested in football because of Taylor than people of any other income groups. I think maybe that's because I don't know, but I'm thinking it's because they have more leisure time to watch sports, especially the big games, just to have fun. Only 9% of those earning less than $35,000, they are saying the same, like, oh, we can go to a game or we watch the game more frequently because of Taylor. So that's interesting. But what I find the most interesting, I know your podcast, most of the viewers are men, most of the listeners are men. So 15% of men, they say they are more interested in football because of Taylor.
Wow.
Versus only 12% of women.
I can't argue with numbers.
Yeah, you think, yes, Taylor Swift's fan, Swifties, teenage girls. Okay, that's like the stereotype, but there are men who are into her music. Good music is good music. One of my closest friends, he's a 30-year-old dude from the Midwest. Super into Taylor Swift. So you don't know, that's something I find a little unexpected, that more men say they're more interested in football because of Taylor. Wow. You just can't argue with that. I mean, yes, the source of polling, I don't typically come across a survey by Lending Tree. I usually go for the bigger polling places, but I think the numbers are telling.
Yes, that is a big surprise. My facts are more anecdotal, just going to sports bars, talking to people. And I was at a sports bar a few weeks ago and the game was on and they weren't too happy about it. It's like this, enough is enough now.
Yeah.
How many times are we going to bring the camera over?
I totally get that.
She's dancing and she's high-fiving the mom. I'm asking you, does she want this attention?
No, I mean, obviously, I don't know her personally, but I am sure she does not want this attention. I am sure she doesn't want this attention. If you recall, with all her exes, I think with every single ex that she dated, she's been pretty discreet. She tried to keep a low profile, and I would say at the beginning when she was, hitting up Travis Kelce, it was very much a private affair. It was very much a private affair. I came across a quote that Taylor Swift, I think she spoke to Time. Here's her quote. Let me read it to you. This is what she said. "We actually had a significant amount of time that no one knew," which I'm grateful for because we got to know each other. By the time I went to the first game, we were a couple. I think some people think that they saw our first date at the game. We would never be psychotic enough to launch a first date. This is what she said. This is what she said. I think she was trying to keep the relationship under wrap for at least months. At least months. She was trying to be low key, and then her relationship, paparazzi speculate. Paparazzi, if somebody of her profile, it's hard to keep everything secret. I talk about this on a different show, is that she has this parasocial relationship with her fans. It's kind of complicated. On one hand,
you have to explain that to us.
On one hand, you get this overwhelming amount of support from the Swifties, from your fans. But on the other hand, this parasocial relationship sort of extends to criticism and sometimes anger of your personal life because they think they know you. They're like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't date him or leave him or something like that. People are personally invested because at the end of the day, people like her. But I mean, it's her life, right? It's pretty natural that she wants to keep it out of the public view for as long as she can. But really, given who she is, you can't really dodge paparazzi all the time.
Yeah.
Not really. They were guessing, oh, Taylor was going out with this football player, because do you remember at the beginning, she went to an event in New York City, and she was wearing a necklace that had it was made of opal. And opal is the October birthstone.
Wow.
Yeah. And Travis Kelce was born in October, yes. So that was speculation. Something like that. How many people are born in October? She could be dating somebody else born in October, but people were just speculating. So she sort of came out and said, you know what, I want to put a stop to this rumor. Yeah, we're together. We're together. And she basically said, look, since we're, taking this relationship public anyway, I am going to go see him in action. I am going to go support him at the game. There's nothing wrong with it. She provided a sense of conclusion for her fans.
So, Julia, do you think there's people, conspiracy theorists about this too, believe it or not? I'm not one of those, but do you think it's a conspiracy, or can we at least put this to bed?
Um, I didn't make up that conspiracy. I think conspiracies, they exist because they give people something to think about, something to latch onto. But in this case, I don't think there would be a conspiracy that Taylor Swift would be a willing participant, because she is super busy. She sells out stadiums. She's traveling around the world, flying her jet. She is on tour all the time, and she doesn't need to participate in any of that. I do believe that she thinks the democratic process is important, but she's got enough on her plate. I don't believe this is part of a conspiracy, but people will believe what they believe.
I guess the theory from someone I spoke to is the NFL is in cahoots with her, and they're in a scheme to make tons of money, and they're asking her, I guess,
Right, yeah, because that's something.
I mean, is it ridiculous or what?
If you think maybe it's not ridiculous if for somebody who does not know how the NFL works. It's not just, the commissioner and him. No. There are team owners, there are players, there are coaches, there are staffs, there are executives, there are front office people at the Kansas City Chiefs at every single team. How many people do you have to coordinate this with to pull this off? Do you see anybody coordinating something at this large scale? I think the NFL is really happy that Taylor Swift is going to the games. I don't think there's any question about that. But are they actively saying, okay, whichever team she's rooting for, let's make sure they win? I don't think that's the case. NFL, we can do another show about that, but NFL's had its fair share of, damages. There are a lot of investigations. There had been a lot of investigations. I don't think it needs another scandal. I think this is something that just worked out in their favor.
And she's a billionaire.
Yes.
How much money could she really make that would make a difference? By going in with the NFL private and saying, hey, okay, the NFL, I'm going to go out with this guy who may make the Super Bowl.
Right.
A lot of my fans don't even know who he is. He's one of the best players in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, Travis Kelce, I mean, he's a great player. He's a great player. There's no question about it. I think what fascinates me more than this whole, Taylor Swift frenzy, I love Taylor Swift, but from the football lens, I want to see more conversations, chats about, hey, how did Travis Kelce get there? I mean, now we know, oh, Patrick, Travis, whatever, you can't really escape them. And Travis' brother, Jason, they're essentially football royalties now. But they were not. They basically, they grew up in, I think it's Cleveland Heights, Ohio. It's not a large town. Travis, he played baseball, basketball, and football when he was, a lot younger. He was a quarterback. He was a quarterback. He was a 2-star recruit. People didn't have a lot of faith in him. And he, what?
He was a 64th pick. That's not
Yes,
a
that's
star.
not that high. That's not that high.
The best tight end or one of the best tight ends in the NFL, 64 doesn't match, but it happens all the time.
It doesn't match. And he was not a tight end. He was only I think he would say I settled. He didn't say this, but I think in his mind, he settled on the tight end position because nobody was calling him to play the quarterback. And he's like, well, I just want a place on the team. Let me play. Because if you recall his sophomore year, well, his freshman year, he was redshirted. He barely saw any action. And then his sophomore year, he failed. Didn't he fail this drug test for marijuana?
I didn't.
And then
you have so much more information. I knew him so well. So I'm just going to let you go.
And so he was just benched over there. I mean, in high school, I know that he was benched because he flunked French class. He couldn't do it. But I do think that when he was going to college, sophomore year, he was benched because he failed a drug test. And then he was so close from just not ever play again. He lost his scholarship. His brother, he didn't know where he was going to live. His brother sort of put up like a bed for him in his room. His brother was carrying the weight, right?
I had no idea.
And then when he finally was ready for the big league, yes, he was performing pretty well, but the thing was, time was not on his end, on his side. He only had 1 year of good playing, and the coaches were like, this guy is pretty good, but maybe he's like a 1-year wonder. That's good, but it's not good. So coaches thought maybe he's draftable, but not really. But what's important though was one team took a chance on him, and that was KC Chiefs, Andy Reid. And that was also a connection through his brother because Jason played for Andy Reid. Yeah. Right. Andy Reid drafted Jason and coached him. And I recall that the three of them were on the phone. Andy Reid was like, if you mess up, you're out. I'm going to kick your ass. He said that. He said that I'm going to kick your ass. And then Jason was like, oh, no, he's not going to mess up. Anyway, yeah, so that's something. And then when he first got to Kansas City, he didn't get much play in the first season. And then everything took off. And then, of course, when Patrick Mahomes was drafted, then everything went up. But I want to see more discussions about that. I think for a football fan, if you are sick of the cutaways, then talk to me about that. Now, think about that.
On the base level, are you aware that there's a fairly large amount of people that will say that Taylor Swift is going out with some guy who plays in the NFL and then ends right there?
Yeah,
I find usually to be funny because if you're a true NFL fan, that will frustrate you.
Yeah, I
Let's
get.
If it's your wife.
Yeah, that I get. But look, this is a chance for you to tell your wife, girlfriend, daughter, niece, cousin, whoever, right? Or your brother who doesn't know football, what football is about, because now they sort of got one foot in the door. They're interested before. I mean, how many people, I have friends like this because I was one of them. How many people like you talk to about football, basketball, pick your favorite sport, and they're like, no, I don't want to hear about it. There are people like that.
Yeah.
Right. And now it's like, oh, because of this Taylor Swift angle, you can talk about sports with them, at least for a little bit. Look at it as a chance to get closer to your friends and hang out with your friends.
Now, I have to talk about a couple of ridiculous thoughts, so we're going to end with a video I think you're going to be surprised about, but I can't be sure because you know a lot about the subject.
Okay.
But, this whole thing about when the Super Bowl happened and is Taylor going to make it back in time from that kind of is a little bit too much for me. I'm part of that too much.
I understand. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on when it gets to that level there? Is it,
I
is it
think
too much for
that's
you, or do you're okay with it?
it is not too much for me personally. I will say, because we live in this, tech social media era. So when people think Taylor Swift gets clicks, people
Yeah.
produce clips of her. And
Yeah.
then she does get clicks. So when you see something like that being shared, even overshared, it's really the algorithm. It's not her. I don't
Sure.
fault Taylor for that. Don't fault Taylor for that. It's something that people think this will get our views. If a TV station, talks about it, that's a pretty normal topic for a morning breakfast show. I've been on many morning
It's a
breakfast
great
shows,
topic.
and yeah, we talk about what to have for breakfast.
Uh-huh.
um, traveling. Can she make it to the Super Bowl? Things like that, lighthearted stuff. And so this naturally falls within the realm of lighthearted stuff.
And is
So
she
to
being
answer your
tracked?
question, it's not too much for me. That
Okay,
being said, I get
you
it.
get
I
it.
get it. Because I'm also, I watch football too. I get it. I get it how that would be too much if you're there just for the game.
And then is she being tracked by the mileage on her plane? Because not too long ago, she has a lawsuit or
Uh-huh.
something with a guy who likes to track famous people.
Yes. Yes.
So
I think
you can
in
add
that
that
case,
too, and then really go
sure.
for it.
Look, in that case, I believe she was being tracked.
Yes.
How much of it was real time? I'm not really sure, but at least for part of it, she was tracked real time, and that gets into the topic of personal safety and being a celebrity. They want some privacy, they want some peace. I'm sure you get that too.
Yeah.
So I would never bother to track her. I'm just
Yeah.
not, I'm not a paparazzi. Like I've done entertainment stuff, but I'm not that
Yeah.
nosy. So if you're a Swiftie and if you're so into her, you have this para-social relationship with her, okay, knock yourself out. But I don't think it's particularly nice thing to do when you stalk her personal life all the time.
Now, here's one other observation before the
Mhm.
Super Bowl. I don't know if you caught this, but there's a media availability day, and
Mhm.
normally it's pretty even with the different players.
Yep.
What I saw was Travis Kelce's area, and it looked like everyone was going to like a Rolling Stones concert. That there was
Yeah.
so many
Yeah.
people there.
Yeah.
And it has to be that way, but it's just it's a little bit hard to get used to when you see that because it almost is taking over the game to a bit.
Yes,
There's a
yes,
threatening part of that.
and when media people because I'm also one of them. When we go to a media day like that, I've never been there, but when we
Hmm.
go to a media day like that, everything is planned. You're not going to show up just randomly because they won't let you in.
Yeah,
You need to tell them I'm with this channel. I'm a sports host or whatever, sport producer. You need to get yourself a badge, some kind of credential to even get in on the premise and have access to the players. There are a lot of cameras there. This is true for NBA, Major League Baseball, college
yeah.
football, and for sure for any NFL games.
Mhm.
Each camera captures the game from a different angle. Even if the person that just puts the camera on his shoulder, that's a different angle than somebody
Yeah,
else's. So there is a room somewhere, whether it's in a truck or in a room, there's a wall of TVs, right? And it
yeah,
shows you all the feed. Somebody in front of that wall gets to decide which feed you, the audience, gets to see. Here's the important thing that I want to tell your viewers. From my personal experience working on shows for however many years that I've been on,
mhm.
I've worked with maybe somewhere between 30 and 40 of these control room people. I can tell you that out of all of these 40 something people who get to decide what you see on TV, only one of them is a woman.
Well,
Everybody else is a guy.
that has to
So
change.
this guy decides to cut away to Taylor Swift when he has 10, 20, even 30 other screens that he could show you. What does that say about him? Well, maybe the answer is the easiest one. Like he thinks Taylor Swift is hot.
Yeah.
Maybe it's simple as that. Or
Job
maybe it's,
security too.
yeah, or maybe it's because he thinks more people would watch.
Yeah. Talk about a stressful job.
Yeah,
That and traffic controllers.
yeah.
Well, I'm
So
gonna.
so they will decide, but whatever they decide, they can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna show something that nobody's gonna watch, otherwise they would
Yeah.
get canned. They have to just they have to, show you something that they think some people would watch, preferably a lot of people would watch. Therefore, it is driven by what's called the commercial value. It's driven by eyeballs at the end of the day.
This is not Taylor Swift's first go around in sport.
Uh-huh.
Are you aware of something that happened last year? And we're going to cut to a videotape right now.
Okay.
Julia, this was just a great show. I didn't know where it was going to go. I've learned so much. I'm going to watch this video about 3 or 4 times just for my own self.
Okay.
And I can't think of a better guest to have than you, understanding all the different aspects, not only as a fan, but of the business.
Thank you.
This is an evergreen. This isn't about what we've been watching all season long. This is something that is an event, and I'm very happy to have you on today. And I'd love to have you on other shows relating to this in the future as I move
Yep.
into different formats besides just pure sports.
Yep. Thank you for having me.